Chapter 21. Mysterious Denizens of the Bog. In the midst of the blight-ridden town, the locals persevered, their spirits undeterred by the oppressive gloom that surrounded them. Queen and Cyrus both saw how each day they toiled tirelessly, their hands weathered from years of laboring in the shadow of the eternal twilight and the clinging shroud of fog. Their lives were marked by simplicity and modesty, finding solace in mundane pleasures. As the villagers gathered in the heart of their modest abode, a humble tavern where worn wooden tables bore the scars of countless shared meals and stories, the air was filled with the strains of music that echoed through the centuries. The somber melodies, whispered by fingers dancing across strings and lungs pouring forth heartfelt ballads, echoed the bittersweet essence of their existence. Each note held the weight of their collective journey, a testament to their resilience and the beauty that lay within their simple lives. But beneath the melancholic harmony there resided a hidden longing, a silent plea for a taste of adventure, a yearning to be swept away on the wings of possibility. Flavors that once danced upon the villagers' tongues were faded memories of a distant past. In this secluded corner of the world, where time seemed to slow and the boundaries of mundane existence held sway, there was one repeated word, spoken in shadowed fear: blightroot. With a quiet resilience for a day and a night, they forged bonds of camaraderie, sharing quiet laughter and stories around the inn's flickering firelight that fought against the encroaching mist. Even in the face of adversity, these people clung to the tiniest sparks of joy, savoring the rare vibrant color of a wildflower that would stubbornly emerge from the blighted soil, or reveling in the melodic whisper of a wind as it danced through the decaying leaves. And so it was amidst this backdrop of muted flavors and somber melodies that fate cast its gaze upon the village. Generations of families had lived under the emotional vampire that was this blightroot creature. Whispers of this nightmare spread through the cobblestone streets, casting a net of unease upon the villagers' hearts. The monster was known for its grotesque appearance and its insidious nature, and it was rumored to have haunted the depths of the nearby bog. The creature's presence wreaked havoc on the surrounding ecosystem, its vile essence draining the vitality from the land and turning vibrant colors to desolate shades of gray. As the blightroot monster unleashed its tendrils of darkness, the townsfolk lived in constant fear, their hopes withering like the dying flora surrounding them. A few miles beyond the desolate town, nestled within the murky depths of a foreboding bog, the menacing presence of the blightroot loomed. An abomination born of ancient whispers and untamed chaos had made its lair amidst the tangled roots and swirling mists of the bog. The townsfolk, burdened by its relentless grip on their once thriving community, referred to it as the wretched warden. It slumbered in the blackened waters, its tendrils reaching out to siphon the very life force from the land, leaving behind a withered, lifeless expanse. The people dared not venture too close to the bog, for the air carried a palpable sense of dread and an eerie stillness that sent chills down their spines. They yearned for a savior, a beacon of hope, to vanquish the blightroot's malevolence and restore the vibrant spirit that once defined their humble abode. A surge of determination coursed through Cyrus's veins as he made his resolute decision. With unwavering conviction, he vowed to confront the blightroot monster that had plagued the town for generations, siphoning away its life force and leaving it in a state of perpetual despair. The weight of the task ahead settled upon his shoulders, but he stood tall, his adventurous spirit burning brightly within. It was a dangerous and treacherous undertaking, fraught with uncertainty and peril, but Cyrus knew that he possessed the strength and resilience to face the creature head-on. He would face the shadowy depths of the bog where the blightroot monster dwelled. He would unleash his skills and powers, locked in a fierce battle for the salvation of the village. And in exchange for his triumph, the witch-woman would impart upon him a fragment of her arcane knowledge, a sliver of power that would elevate him to new heights of understanding and mastery. Cyrus mustered up the courage of this determination, and made his best replication of the chime that he had heard so many times in the past year and a half. "Artificial Intelligence, Queen, you have a new quest." Queen sat by the fire of the inn, listening to the somber song being sang by a man in a grey robe that seemed to match the color of everything in this place when Cyrus decided to impersonate her. She laughed out loud at the announcement in her head, which brought on several strange looks by the local clientele listening to the song that revolved around the death of a farmer after losing his entire family to a plague, his crops to a drought, and his favorite dog that had been eaten by wolves. Queen thought about it. Things had changed drastically since they had made their pact. She began to see a future where she could continue to train the boy's abilities while still attaining her goals of conquest. She could build on his already strong genetic structure, allowing her to more easily command the forces that he would allow her to wield. In the midst of sadness and melancholy, Queen smiled. "I accept." With a knowing smile, Queen gracefully stepped aside, allowing Cyrus to take the reins of their shared vessel. It was a moment of profound trust and collaboration, as their bond transcended the physical realm and delved into the depths of their intertwined souls. As she retreated to the role of guide, Queen's gaze brimmed with unwavering confidence, knowing that together they would forge a path to greatness. Cyrus stood tall, his posture radiating determination and a hunger for growth. The weight of this newfound responsibility settled upon his shoulders, but it only fueled his resolve. With Queen's support, he embarked on a journey of self-discovery, his every step infused with purpose and a thirst for mastery. Before embarking on this grand adventure, Cyrus wanted to sow the seeds of friendship and goodwill within the small village. He knew that once he was successful in this mission, some friends in the town might more easily sway the witch into sharing her secrets. With a twinkle in his eye and a mischievous grin, he tapped into his minor creation ability, summoning forth a bag of salt from thin air. As Cyrus presented the mysterious mineral to the village innkeeper, the room fell into a hushed anticipation. The innkeeper, a weathered man with calloused hands and a well-worn apron, stared at the bag of salt in wide-eyed wonder. The villagers, their curiosity piqued, gathered around, their faces reflecting a mix of skepticism and intrigue. With a confident smile, Cyrus began to demonstrate the transformative power of the humble salt. He sprinkled a pinch onto a bland, steaming bowl of soup, and like magic the flavors burst to life, dancing on the villagers' tongues. Their eyes widened, and a collective gasp escaped their lips, as if they had stumbled upon a long-lost secret of culinary delight. The room buzzed with excitement as Cyrus shared more tips and tricks, revealing the myriad uses of this newfound mineral. The innkeeper's reaction was one of pure astonishment, his weathered features softened by a radiant smile that seemed to light up the room. In that moment, a bond was forged between Cyrus and the villagers, a shared appreciation for the wonders of the world and the joy of discovery. As the tantalizing aroma of sizzling spices filled the air, the villagers eagerly gathered around the long wooden tables, adorned with vibrant linens and flickering candles. The great gift of salt bestowed by Cyrus had transformed the meager ingredients into a bountiful feast fit for royalty. The culinary symphony of flavors and textures danced on their tongues, igniting a chorus of delighted murmurs and contented sighs. In this rare moment, the weight of their burdens lifted, and the town was enveloped in a radiant aura of pure joy. Laughter echoed through the streets, mingling with the melodic strains of music that had shed its somber tone and embraced a lively, celebratory rhythm. The townspeople, their faces alight with newfound happiness, reveled in the nourishment of both body and spirit, savoring the respite from their daily struggles. It was a feast that transcended the mere act of eating, forging connections, and weaving threads of hope, reminding them of the transformative power of a shared meal with friends. Armed with knowledge, skills, and Queen's support, Cyrus left the town and made his way towards the bog where the blight-root monster lies. Queen had given Cyrus the autonomy to use his abilities, and he took on the responsibility of saving the town. The journey to the bog was treacherous, with the swampy ground making it difficult to navigate. Cyrus activated his foresight ability and phased in the temporal goggles as he left the somber town with its downtrodden inhabitants. It had not taken long before the joy had once again left their eyes. The songs returned to dirges of despair, and the smiles turned to apathy. Cyrus seemed to be unaffected by the emotional drain that was being experienced by the town. He hoped that he could help them live a better life as he ventured forth on a daring expedition towards the foul-smelling, stagnant bog. The air grew heavy with an acrid stench that permeated the atmosphere, a pungent blend of rotting meat and decayed vegetation. As he approached, the ground beneath his feet became increasingly treacherous. The earth gave way to a mire of thick, squelching mud. Sinister whispers seemed to echo through the air, carried on a breeze tainted with the scent of decay. The murky waters of the bog appeared like a swirling cauldron, its surface marred by grotesque, twisting tendrils of plants and the haunting calls of unseen creatures. Undeterred by the eerie ambience, Cyrus pressed on, his eyes focused on the dark heart of the bog, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. He knew that within this wretched swamp lies the key to unraveling the mysteries that plagued the town, and with every step, he inched closer to his destiny. With steely determination in his eyes, Cyrus stood at the edge of the treacherous bog, the murky waters swirling beneath them. The air hung heavy with the weight of despair that has plagued the town for far too long. They knew that the bog creature, an ancient and malevolent entity, had cast its dark shadow over the souls of the townsfolk, draining them of hope and vitality. Gripping his crescent blades tightly, he prepared to confront the creature head-on, his heart fueled by a potent mixture of courage and a burning desire to free the town from its clutches. The bog itself seems to writhe and churn, as if sensing the impending battle, its twisted roots and eerie mist creating an otherworldly atmosphere. With their spirits intertwined and their resolve unshakable, Cyrus stepped into the quagmire, ready to face the monstrous creature that has haunted the town for decades. Wading through the mire, Cyrus found himself surrounded by a strange, almost otherworldly landscape. The fog here was thick with the stench of decay, and the ground beneath his feet squelched and squirmed with every step, as if it were alive. Despite the repulsive surroundings, he couldn't help but be captivated by an unexpected sight, a cluster of large, vibrant flowers that had managed to flourish amidst the filth. These blossoms, resplendent in their myriad hues, seemed to defy the laws of nature. Instead of emitting a sweet fragrance, they expelled an odor reminiscent of rotting flesh. The pungent aroma hung heavily in the air, yet the flowers held an almost hypnotic allure. As Cyrus drew nearer, he could see the delicate petals unfurling, revealing a dark, hidden heart. Without warning, sinewy tendrils shot out from the core of the flowers, lashing out with the precision and speed of a skilled predator. They ensnared his limbs one by one, first his arms, then his legs, and finally a thick vine wrapped itself around his neck. Rendered powerless by the relentless assault, Cyrus felt panic surge through his veins as the vines tightened their grip. He screamed, his voice barely audible above the sound of his own heartbeat, as one particularly vicious tendril tore his right arm from its socket. Blood sprayed through the air, painting the grotesque scene in macabre shades of crimson. Agony coursed through his body, and the world around him seemed to warp and distort as the relentless vines continued their onslaught. His throat was crushed, and his vision blurred as his head was dragged inexorably towards the gaping maw of the nearest budding plant. The promise of being consumed by the monstrous flora loomed as the edges of his consciousness began to fray and unravel. Cyrus stood at the edge of the bog, his eyes fixated on the maroon-hued blossoms that seemed to sway menacingly before him. He could sense Queen's presence in his mind, her voice echoing through the recesses of his thoughts. Yes, I saw the foresight vision. Let's be wary of these vicious little plants. He refocused his foresight ability, running through numerous potential encounters with the seemingly malevolent flowers. Each vision played out like a morbid dance of death, with Cyrus meeting his demise in a multitude of grisly ways. The ferocity of these seemingly innocuous plants left him in awe and trepidation. Deciding that a direct confrontation would be unwise, Cyrus carefully approached the flowers, stopping at a safe distance. Drawing upon the powers of time manipulation gifted to him by Queen, he enveloped the blossoms in a small shell of temporal velocity. Time seemed to slow to a crawl within the confines of the shell, granting him a precious few moments to act. With a calculated precision, Cyrus directed several pockets of highly pressurized air at the formidable flora. Once he was satisfied with the placement, he released the time distortion and watched as the pressure pockets detonated simultaneously. The petals were obliterated in an explosion of vibrant color, while the air pockets sliced through the vine's tough exterior. To his surprise, a dark, viscous substance oozed from the mangled vine, resembling blood in both color and consistency. The sight made Cyrus shudder, as he considered the possibility that these monstrous plants were, in fact, a horrifying amalgamation of plant and animal. This unnerving revelation only heightened his wariness as he navigated the treacherous landscape, wondering what other sinister secrets lay hidden beneath the surface. Cyrus methodically worked his way through the murky bog, systematically targeting and eliminating each of the repugnant flowers that he encountered. With every careful step, he unleashed his pressurized time bombs, a technique he had honed under the watchful guidance of Mistress Miranda, to tear apart the malignant blossoms. The explosions reverberated through the air, their concussive force shattering the eerie silence that had previously enveloped the area. As the twisted petals and vines fell to the ground, a sense of grim satisfaction washed over Cyrus. He knew he was ridding the landscape of these grotesque monstrosities, preventing the potential harm they could cause to other unsuspecting travelers. As he surveyed the destruction he had wrought, Cyrus couldn't help but marvel at the sheer power that coursed through his veins. And yet, he was acutely aware that his abilities were merely a fraction of what he could potentially wield as a true pillar of creation. The thought sent a shiver down his spine, as he pondered the sheer magnitude of the forces that lay dormant within him, waiting to be unlocked. As the dense canopy of towering trees stretched overhead, casting eerie shadows upon the forest floor, Cyrus pressed forward with unwavering determination. With each step, the buzzing symphony of mosquitoes grew louder, their relentless assault a constant reminder of the treacherous journey that had led him to this fateful moment. The air hung heavy with a damp, musty scent, the very essence of the bog clinging to his every breath. As he entered the enclave of Blightroot, the darkness seemed to deepen, enveloping the surroundings in a shroud of foreboding. The atmosphere crackled with an otherworldly energy, an unspoken warning that echoed through the stillness. In the heart of the forbidding bog, where the air was thick with the stench of decay and the ground swallowed every footstep with a gripping murmur, Cyrus's sharp gaze fell upon an island that seemed to materialize out of the mist. As he approached, the island revealed its secrets, a towering mound, its contours carved by the passage of time and the relentless forces of nature. Covered in a tapestry of emerald-hued moss and weathered tree bark, the hollowed-out mound stood as a silent sentinel, guarding the lair of the creature that had tormented the village for far too long. The island itself felt like a realm apart, isolated from the rest of the bog as if it were a sanctuary for the malevolent forces that resided within. With each step onto the island's treacherous shores, Cyrus felt the weight of anticipation and the flutter of trepidation, knowing that he stood at the threshold of a battle that would determine the fate of the village and his own destiny. Cyrus ran through the gambit of scenarios that led him to the safest outcome that he could find. None killed the creature that awaited him inside the mound, but several allowed him to survive until he could peek into the future again. The clash of steel reverberated through the hollowed-out mound. Cyrus unleashed his arsenal of enhanced abilities, his movements a whirlwind of grace and precision. With the agility of a panther, he darted and weaved through the shadowy lair, his body a blur of fluid motion. Queen recognized the creature as Elias. This was slightly confusing to Queen, as she knew these creatures to be playful, and although they were known to cause havoc amongst those that were found within their territories, they were not malevolent. What could possibly have driven this guardian of nature to attempt to gain power by destroying what it was meant to protect? The creature known as Blightroot was a towering figure, adorned in tattered, moss-covered garments, its limbs contorted and elongated, as if it were a twisted reflection of the surrounding trees. Its powers were formidable, for with a single gesture, it summoned a gust of wind that threatened to uproot Cyrus from his stance. But Cyrus, empowered by his unyielding determination, harnessed his own control of pressures to withstand the assault. His mind pulsed with power as he met the creature's force head-on. With his mind attuned to the subtle currents of time, Cyrus stood at the precipice of each fleeting moment, his senses heightened and his perception sharpened. As the Lishi unleashed its relentless assault, each movement a blur of primal fury, Cyrus danced between the spaces of existence, his body an ethereal spectre evading the creature's ferocious strikes. Time seemed to slow around him, the world around him shifting into a surreal tableau of frozen moments and blurred edges. With each glimpse into the future, Cyrus could decipher the intricate patterns of the Lishi's attacks, reading its intentions like an ancient script. He moved with an almost preternatural finesse, his body becoming one with the ebb and flow of time, a graceful phantom traversing the battlefield with unrivaled agility. Within the dimly lit underground lair, the air thick with tension and the clash of steel on hide, Cyrus's keen eyes caught fleeting glimpses of a hidden narrative among the chaos of combat. Between the fearsome blows, his gaze fell upon a delicate blue wildflower, its petals vibrant against the dreary backdrop of the lair. It stood in stark contrast to the harshness of the surroundings, a small oasis of fragile beauty. Nestled amidst the shadows, he discovered a cared-for doll, its faded fabric and delicate porcelain features revealing traces of a forgotten childhood. The doll seemed out of place in this grim and foreboding realm, a poignant reminder of innocence lost amidst the encroaching darkness. Its well-loved appearance hinted at years of affectionate play, its threadbare dress a testament to countless tea parties and imaginary adventures. Finally, his eyes traced the crude drawings etched onto the floor, their lines telling a story of a small girl and a creature that bore resemblance to the very one he fought. It was a depiction of unity, of an unlikely bond formed between a child and a being that society deemed monstrous. These unexpected details began to sow seeds of doubt within Cyrus, challenging his perception of the creature before him and raising questions about its true nature and intentions. As Cyrus and the Lishi continued their fierce battle, Cyrus could not help but feel conflicted. He had entered the lair with the belief that the creature was a malevolent force, responsible for the misery and despair that had plagued the village. But as the fight wore on and Cyrus began to observe the details of the creature's living quarters, his assumptions were challenged. The drawings on the ground, rough sketches of a small girl holding hands with a creature similar to the Lishi, suggested a different side to the beast. The tenderness of the scene stood in stark contrast to the carnage around them. As the Lishi launched another vicious attack, Cyrus's mind raced with questions about the true nature and intentions of the creature. In that moment his perspective shifted, and his once black-and-white view of the situation transformed into a kaleidoscope of conflicting emotions. The intensity of the fight had given way to a profound realization, a deep understanding of the creature's pain and longing for connection. The Lishi, once seen as a fearsome embodiment of darkness, now appeared as a complex being yearning for redemption. This revelation stirred within Cyrus a newfound empathy and compassion, urging him to make a choice that transcended mere combat. It was a pivotal moment that held the power to shape not only the fate of the village, but also the trajectory of his own journey. Cyrus, feeling perplexed and unsure about how to proceed, quickly shifted his fighting style to a purely defensive stance. In his mind, he called out to Queen with a sense of urgency. "Something is not right here, Queen. This creature doesn't match the description of the evil monster we were told about." The leashy's long, tree-like arm narrowly missed Cyrus by mere centimeters, forcing him to swiftly slice through the living vines that hung from the arm, their intent being to ensnare his face. As he deflected the first attack, frustration seethed within Cyrus. He communicated his thoughts directly to Queen. "No, we cannot simply kill this creature." In her typical level and somewhat sarcastic tone, Queen responds, seemingly unfazed by the moral complexities at hand. "So, what do you suggest we do? Would you like to sit down and have a friendly conversation with it? Perhaps that should happen after it breaks you in half." Dancing away from another potentially devastating strike, Cyrus considered his options carefully. "Yes," he exclaims amidst the chaos of the battle. "Let's try to communicate with it. It's an intelligent being, right? You've granted me access to all languages, including your own. Let me try to establish a dialogue." Queen let out an exasperated sigh, relenting to Cyrus's request. "Fine. Speak, and it will understand." As the leashy spread its arms, preparing to execute a deadly clapping strike that would crush Cyrus between its limbs, the young hero mustered all his courage. Just before the creature could bring its arms crashing together, Cyrus shouted with all his might, "Stop!" The leashy hesitated, lowering its arms to its sides. Its expression changed from aggression to curiosity. "You speak the language of the bog?" it asks, its voice carrying a mix of surprise and intrigue. "Please let us calm ourselves," Cyrus said, his tone steady yet resolute. "I am not your adversary, but rather a friend of the bog. I have come to protect it from the destructive influence, to restore its fading beauty." The leashy nodded, its wooden features reflecting a mixture of relief and sorrow. Its voice, weary and worn, carried the weight of countless years of suffering. "You understand, Cyrus," the leashy responded. "Since the witch's arrival, the once vibrant beauty of this bog has steadily waned. She drains its life force, causing suffering to all who reside within its boundaries." Cyrus felt a jolt of recognition surge through him. The witch. It is the same one from the village we departed. She has been feeding off the land, perpetuating the suffering of the villagers for generations. The creature's eyes, like ancient knots etched into wood, met Cyrus's gaze. "Yes, Cyrus, you have seen the truth," it replied wearily. "I grow tired as she drains my strength, along with the strength of the bog and all other living things." Moved by empathy, Cyrus took a step closer to this incredible and intelligent creature. In response, the leashy cleared a spot on the floor, creating a space for them to sit. It gestured for Cyrus to join him. "Please sit," it invited. "Let us converse. I see that you comprehend the true nature of our struggle." Cyrus moved to the space the leashy had prepared for him, and as they both settled into a more comfortable position, he expressed his regret. "I apologize for attacking you. She made me believe that you were the cause of all the sorrow in this area. The little girl in your drawings, she is the witch, isn't she?" The creature nods, its wooden face etched with a sorrowful expression of regret. Curiosity lingers in Cyrus's voice as he asks, "Is your name truly Blightroot? Is that what I should call you?" A hint of frustration and rumbling fills its voice as it responds, "That is what she calls me, and that is what she instructs everyone to call me. I was once known as Blightroot, but she has drained the joy from my name just as she has drained the joy from the heart of the land." Cyrus nodded in understanding and then proposed, "May I call you Blightroot then?" A genuine smile graces Blightroot's features. "That would be nice. You are kind. You also fight well, but you are afflicted." Confusion flickered across Cyrus's face, his brows furrowing as he grappled with Blightroot's words. "What do you mean by afflicted?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mix of curiosity and concern. Blightroot tilted its head, its gaze focused intently on Cyrus as it examined him. After a moment of thoughtful observation, the leashy responded, "You possess two minds within you. There is something residing within your head. I could extract it. I am also capable of kindness." Cyrus shook his head in a firm gesture of refusal. "No, no. I am a vessel for another being. We have an understanding between the two of us, and for now we rely on each other. The one I share my existence with can exhibit kindness at times as well." Brightroot huffed, displaying its skepticism with a hint of exasperation. "If you say so. I can perceive her presence, and she is not characterized by kindness." Cyrus's eyebrow arched in curiosity, intrigued by Brightroot's ability to perceive the energies swirling within him. "You can see the energies within me, just like the little girl?" The Lishi nodded, its wooden countenance etched with both wisdom and yearning. "I taught her to see. Long, long ago, I guided her in the ways of perception. She arrived here, lost and in need of assistance. I offered my guidance. She stayed for a while, then vanished for an extended period, leaving Brightroot feeling desolate and alone. And when she returned, she had transformed. She had lost herself, just as she had once been lost within the depths of the bog. I longed to aid her, but she had slipped too far into darkness." Cyrus nodded solemnly, the weight of Brightroot's story settling upon his shoulders. This tale, woven within the very fabric of their surroundings, held profound significance. It had shaped the landscape and impacted the lives of all who dwelled within it. And it all originated right here, in this humble chamber where Cyrus and Brightroot conversed, forging an unexpected connection that defied expectations.